Yes, your eyes did not deceive you. These two clips are in fact real. Armor is bugged, and it allows Brig and Ramatra to sully the sanctity of our video game with this unholy nonsense. A lot of people probably saw this clip on Twitter as the answer to all of the problems plaguing the game right now. The reason why D.Va is broken. Armor is bugged. Friends and I did some testing and we figured out all armor is bugged right now. It's not 10 damage mitigated per shot, it is 50% flat damage reduction. Ram can tank D.Va Bomb without block, and Brig can tank Riptire in rally. Retweet for visibility, let's kill this awful meta. And this would be the saving grace of Overwatch, if not for the fact that everything written in this tweet is absolutely false. However, the clips themselves are real. This does happen in game, and it's fucked up. This is fucked up, and this is also fucked up. So let's talk about what's actually happening here with armor. So just get it out of the way. Not all armor is bugged. Armor works completely fine for a vast majority of the characters. The reason they show Ramatra and Brig in the clip are that Ramatra and Brig are the only two characters that are impacted by this bug. For D.Va, Reinhardt, and any other character in the game, armor functions as intended, with the 50% mitigation or the flat 10 damage, whichever one is smaller. Now this gets kind of really weird and complicated, so I'll try to explain it the best I can in the brief amount of time I have, as I have to go to work in the morning. But basically this bug is something that's been in Overwatch before. It's a vintage bug, a scarab beetle if you would, straight from the realms of Overwatch 1. Another thing that they've decided to bring over after so long. But the bug has to do with characters having multiple pools of armor active at once. This is why only Ramatra and Brig are able to be impacted by it. Brig has a base of 50 armor and can gain an additional 100 while in rally, meaning she has two pools of armor. The 100 from rally and the 50 from her base health pool. Ramatra, on the other hand, much more common with him as he has Nemesis form, which gives him 300 armor, and then he has 75 armor on his basic health pool. Now for how armor is bugged, the first pool of health, the one on top, the 100 rally armor for Brig and the 300 Nemesis form armor for Ramatra function entirely as normal. They are not bugged at all. They perform the armor damage calculation as intended, as you can see by the Ana bot that has Ramatra's health bar that I'm firing bullets into. Also, this bug is known about. It's been known about for a while, at least since a couple of weeks ago. There's a great Reddit thread made by Patrick. I will post that in the description. Go give him Reddit karma because he does cool stuff. Made an entire Google Doc, made this custom workshop code. It's really cool. Unlike the people trying to grift on Twitter with rage bait, he actually put in the work testing this out and finding out what the problem is. And also, as he said, the dev team is already aware of this problem and working on it. So, rage bait Twitter post accomplishes absolutely nothing. It's just rage bait plus engagement bait. A very unique and interesting combo. I don't think I've seen anything like it. I see a lot of engagement bait from like VTuber Twitter accounts, and then I see a lot of rage bait on Overwatch where people just blatantly represent the game to try and rile people up and get engagement. Super fucking common. But anyways, I'm kind of off track. Back to the armor. So the first pool of armor, the top one, that gets eliminated first, completely normal. Now the second pool of armor is where it gets stupid. So once the top pool of armor is completely gone and has been depleted, the second pool of armor will apply the damage reduction twice. So as you can see with Tracer, I go from dealing 2.75 damage per bullet, which is just the standard armor for the first pool, and as soon as it gets to the second pool, I start to deal 1.33. And then of course, once the armor runs out, back to the normal damage calculation. So this is probably the more impactful bug with armor that's active in the game, because this little bit of armor will always get that double armor passive on it. But if you could probably guess, this doesn't result in, you know, Ramatra living a D.Va bomb or Brig living a tire. So this goes deeper than you might think. And how it goes deeper is when you deal a massive amount of damage at once that goes through multiple armor pools at the same time. For example, Diva Bomb, Tire, High Noon is another one that causes it. We've seen this bug posted on Twitter before, and people try to use it as some kind of argument against armor, despite the fact that anyone who knows how armor works in this game, or just knows how the game functions in general, could have told you that it's clearly not working as intended for this situation. But what happens is that in a single large instance of damage is dealt, let's say for instance, Diva Bomb against a Ramatra. So for surviving a Diva Bomb, Ramatra has 775 health while in Nemesis form, consisting of 300 Nemesis form armor, 75 regular armor, and 400 standard health. Diva Bomb deals 1000 damage, so 310 damage would get reduced by the first 300 armor. This armor pool is completely unaffected and functions normally. The remaining 690 damage then moves on to the second set of armor, where it just gets completely cut in half due to the bug or something, I don't know. It just doesn't respect the 10 damage resisted limit anymore because it went through 2 sets of armor at the same exact time. So that 690 damage gets cut in half to 345. Ramatra then just takes that 345 damage and is left with 130 health. So while kind of similar to the whole all armor is broken and reduces damage taken by 50%, for stuff like this it kinda works like that, but not really. It's not all armor, and it's specifically when you take a massive amount of damage all at once from High Noon or Diva Bomb or anything like that. So just jumping in here while editing to add another example. As you can see, this Ana right here represents a rallied brig, currently at full health. So the first armor pool of 100 does not have to be full. I can shoot her once. She now only has 35 of that first armor pool, and then 50. But when it overflows, this critical that should deal 240 damage only deals 132.5. Because just any armor at all in that first pool, then overflowing into the second pool, the damage will just get completely half. So it does 132.5, because normal arrow does 240. So the 35 armor reduces the total damage by 45. So now we have 195 damage remaining, which then, of course, overflowing into the other armor pool, gets completely cut in half. So now that 195 damage only deals 97.5. Add that to the 35 damage from before, and then you get 132.5 damage dealt. And the rest of the damage only gets completely halved if that first armor pool is present. Let's say I deal more damage to the Ana. Now that first armor pool is completely gone, only has 35 armor from the second pool. I deal a critical. It deals 220 damage. Because the armor is getting applied twice, but getting applied twice to that second armor pool, it still respects the maximum of 10 damage. It's only when it overflows from one armor pool to another that it gets buggy and it completely cuts all the overflow damage in half. Hopefully this makes a little more sense than whatever nonsense I was on before. I'm very tired. It's almost 1 AM and I have work in the morning. Please pray for me. Anyways, back to the video. So yeah, that's my attempt at a really brief explanation of what the heck is going on with armor right now. Just know that only Brig and Ramatra are impacted by this. Diva is not. Do not think that Diva has magically gained 50% damage resist from armor due to this bug. Hers is completely normal. The last thing I would want is for this to somehow gaslight the Overwatch community into thinking once the bug is fixed, Diva is magically nerfed. She's not going to be. She still needs to actually be addressed. But posting the dreaded and, quite frankly, really creative and unique raids bait plus engagement bait wombo combo on Twitter, pretty creative, but you're still just spreading misinformation. It's also sad because it shows how easy it is to just gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss the Overwatch community. Not like we haven't seen this happen a million times already, but still. This is just something that personally annoys me. because developers should take community feedback into account when balancing their game. But when you try and feed people false information online, you pretty heavily poison the community feedback that the developers get, and just forces the developers to rely more on hard data in order to balance their game. Now we have a lot of people that think D.Va is broken because her armor is bugged when it was never bugged to begin with, which is just kind of not very good. And also as a bonus, because the custom game that Patrick made was really fucking cool, they put an Ana that has 5 different pools of 25 armor. So you can see what happens when Tracer gets the armor damage reduction applied to her weapon 5 different times. And it's really funny to see Tracer deal 0.17 damage per bullet. But yeah, don't blow up misinformation on Twitter. The original Reddit post already said that the devs knew that this was an issue and they were trying to work on it. But the game is probably really fucked up with trying to revert back to Overwatch 1 with all these different things. Consider the armor bug a beta test for 6v6, because this would have been a problem if they went back to Overwatch 1 armor anyways. The other interesting thing is that I don't even know how long this has been in the game. This was a bug way back in Overwatch 1 with Brig Rally, since when they made Brig Rally decay, the armor that it gave you was given to you and taken away in chunks, and these chunks would do the exact same thing. It didn't stack infinitely like it does right now, but if damage was dealt between 2 armor pools, it would get the armor damage reduction applied twice, which it should not have, and this is just the same thing, except slightly different and slightly more buggy. Because now it's able to just completely ignore the flat damage cap and just do the full 50% reduction no matter how much damage is dealt. So yeah, sorry this isn't made that well. I just want to make this quickly to get it out there. I'm gonna be at work by the time people see this. I just don't want there to be more misinformation about D.Va being broken because of a bug, and then all they do is fix the bug and they don't actually try and nerf D.Va in any meaningful way. But then people celebrate because they don't know that the bug was a lie. It didn't actually impact D.Va. It's not all armor. It's specifically these 2 characters in these 2 specific situations. Still needs to be fixed, but goddamn. I also wonder if anyone has any old VODs, if they could go back and check if this was still a thing way back in, you know, Season 10. In the mid-season update, because this isn't even like a Season 12 thing specifically, it's just that recently they upped the amount from 5 to 10. This easily could have been in the game since Season 10, the mid-season patch, and it just took people 4 months to notice that the game was like this. So yeah, as a final side note, I feel like it's pretty funny how the original tweet mentions getting rid of the current meta or something like that, considering the fact that patching out this bug would actually benefit D.Va greatly, because her D.Va bomb cannot kill Ramatra. Ramatra honestly feels like is one of the better counters to D.Va in the game right now. If she tries to dive in, you can just throw up your barrier to block healing for her. You can throw out a Ravenous Vortex to try and slow down her relentless assault at Mach 57 into your team, or try and, you know, catch her escape to punish her for going for that. And Nemesis form is the biggest thing, because Nemesis form damage goes through defense matrix, and it's also not as impacted by the new version of armor that blocks up to 10 damage. The older flat 30% damage actually blocked more damage against Pummel than the current version, so Ram does a lot more damage to D.Va now, takes a lot less from her, and his massive fucking robot hands punch straight through defense matrix. So I've seen success with counter-swapping Ram into D.Va. Blocking up heals and just beating her to death usually will work a lot of the time, unless the person's really good at D.Va, but for a lot of people, they're probably not very good at D.Va. You can punish a lot of D.Vas just by doing this. That's the final tip. I've rambled too long. Be safe, stay in school, and don't eat dogs. Just don't eat them.